It makes sense that the company would want to center Mia in this way.
깽깽이 코코투.
Hi, welcome. So it just comes to my attention after uploading my honest thoughts on Everglow's comeback with dun dun that a lot of you are actually really genuinely upset about the line distribution. So I thought my annoying second gen ass could take a minute or 10 to talk about that. Because hi, my name's Angelina and I can predict the future. On that note, I'm almost at 100k, so if you want me to expose for having hurt my feelings 6 months ago, then you're definitely want to subscribe. Because at 100k, I can't promise that I'm going to keep my mouth shut about my K-pop YouTuber beefs. So if we check out any of the videos where they show the line distribution for Dun Dun, Mia does get the most percentage of lines compared to the rest of the members if we look at all of their songs' line distributions. So while we're here, let's take a look at all of their songs' lines distributions. So if we take a look at this video by Line Up K-pop for the line distribution of Bon Bon Chocolat, we see that Mia gets 32% of the lines, Sihyun gets 28% of the lines, Yoo gets 15% of the lines, Onda gets 11% of the lines, Iron gets 6% of the lines, and Asha gets 5% of the lines. So 32% compared to 5% is definitely, it's a little bit questionable. It's definitely not the worst I've ever seen, but let's keep going. Then if we look at this video by Hexa6on, for the line distribution of Adios, we see that Mia gets 32% of the lines, Iron gets 16, Onda gets 15, Asha gets 13, Sihyun gets 13, and Io gets 9. So again, if you're going to compare it like this, 32% compared to 9%, yeah. It does seem a little bit unfair, but again, it's not, I don't think it's that terrible. Okay, so lastly, we're going to check out this video by Mion for the line distribution of Dun Dun. Again, Mia consistently is getting 32% of the lines, but the member with the lowest percentage of lines still is getting 10%, which is still a step up from Bon Bon Chocolat. Now, of course, if we pair this with centering Mia with screen time as well, having her have the most screen time out of all the other members, having her have a dance break as well, I can definitely see how this could anger some fans, how this could frustrate some fans. And maybe this is just an unpopular opinion of mine, but to me, this just isn't really anything new. And quite personally, I've definitely seen much worse line distributions in K-pop. But here's the thing, companies aren't dumb. I just had like 12 companies run through my mind. Let me rephrase. Companies aren't dumb all the time. And here's why. I think the company definitely has certain intentions in doing this, particularly with a member who is able to catch the most attention. The thing is, if we look at a lot of K-pop groups, we are going to notice a certain trend. A lot of companies do this. A lot of companies will want to center a specific member within the group. If we look at 21, CL was pushed as center a lot. And before Jennie, she was the, OG YG's princess. And then, of course, in Blackpink, we have Jennie being pushed as the center. In 4Minute, we also have Hyuna being pushed as center. And in 22, we have Angelina being, very blatantly favored among all the other members by Yuehua Entertainment themselves. So Mia does have a lot to offer, and she has a lot of stage presence. There's no doubt about that. And she has a lot of interesting facial expressions. And to me, it makes sense that the company would want to center those elements because those elements is what keeps an audience interested. So in retrospect, this is probably a good way to garner new fans who probably don't really care a lot about line distribution in the first place. But it's also a good way to anger your current fans who recognize a certain level of perhaps favoritism that definitely upsets them. But it doesn't mean that the other members don't have anything interesting to offer. It doesn't mean that they aren't interesting. It's just, in my opinion, a marketing strategy that definitely works. Because on one hand, it garners new fans. And on the other hand, the buzz about the unfair line distribution within the community itself still gets the new song clout because people are angered about it and people are talking about it and people are commenting on it, which definitely helps the algorithm, cough cough. And this doesn't necessarily mean that I completely agree with terrible line distribution, because I can definitely imagine it's stressful on the artist since it can be something very obvious that is exacerbated by fans. I'm just kind of explaining my theories on why certain members are centered a little more than others. But don't get me wrong, I've definitely seen my fair share of unfair line distributions across my, K-pop standing career. Which brings us to our next point, standing out in different ways. Another thing I've noticed is sometimes when the line distribution is really bad, we see effort to make the quote-unquote forgotten member stand out in different ways. So though the member might not get they might stand out in other ways, such as getting more screen time, such as getting weirder fashion or more interesting fashion. And if we take a look at comeback, she had pink hair, and in this comeback she has orange hair. And if we look at some of staged performances, we can see that sometimes she does have outfits that stand out. And if we look into second gen K-pop, because why not? A really good example of this is Dara from 21. Admittedly, she probably didn't get the most lines or the most interesting lines within 21 songs. But if we look at It Hurts, she got a lot of screen time, even though she didn't get that many lines and she had the most interesting hair. Technically, Bon was a close second though. If we do look throughout her entire career, we can see YG really pushing this very interesting style onto her, these very interesting hairstyles onto her, which in my opinion were really iconic. I just feel like a lot of people, aka K-pop shake, shit on these hairstyles, but no one in K-pop was bringing this level of innovation, and they still aren't. I mean, you just don't see hairstyles like this anymore, which is a shame. 21 went there, you don't at me. But the point, we're always going to see some unfair line distributions. And in my opinion, I do think it is mostly companies, somewhat, no, not all the time. We have plenty of proof that shows us that some companies really have fucked up. For example, one of the most unfair line distributions as of recent that I could think of was Spring Day, where J-Hope literally had 0 lines. And he was actually given a few of RM's lines in the live performances. But I've been told I'm just a fake fan and I'm not allowed to have an opinion on BTS, so we're just going to move on from that. Which brings us to our third point, taking it too personally. That being said, I am not a hardcore Everglow stan. I do follow them, I do like them. But this isn't something that hurts my heart. And I know it hurts a lot of people's hearts because they love Everglow. They want every member to be able to shine equally. And it makes a lot of sense. But again, I feel this comes from a sense of us taking it too personally rather than trying to understand why the company would want to do this in the first place. I mean, if you stan a group, you're going to allegedly love them, right? And you're obviously going to think that they deserve more than what they're getting if you feel they're being treated unfairly. But maybe the part just doesn't really fit them, or maybe their presence is just needed elsewhere. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that they're not wanted or that they are not an integral part of the group. The last thing I want to talk about is the speculation of Yuehua joining the group. So there's a lot of speculation that the bad line distribution is for when Yuehua joins the group, and then consequently, she will be able to take some of Mia's lines. First of all, I don't buy that. I don't think this has really been confirmed anywhere. Just there's been a lot of speculation about it. Like some of the members have speculated that maybe she could potentially join the group after IZ*ONE disbands. To me, that seems a little bit odd. I'm not really a fan of groups that are ever changing in nature. It's probably why I don't stan NCT. Calm down, Markley. Also, what I felt was the downfall of After School was the fact that members could graduate. Becca was my bias, okay? But that's just my personal opinion on the situation. However, the whole bad line distribution is because she's going to join doesn't make sense to me, because you could literally just cut lines however you want. There's literally nothing stopping you. I mean, you created these line distributions in the first place. There's nothing stopping you from just like recreating them, right? So it doesn't make sense to me that Mia would get so many lines because someone else might join the group in the future, may or may not, allegedly, who fucking knows? So to conclude, sometimes things just are what they are. It is what it is. Sometimes a member just doesn't fit the concept 100%, or, their presence is just overall so much better fitting, within the group's dynamic itself. And companies are always, at the end of the day, going to do what is most profitable for them. So yeah, that's basically all I had to say. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I'm also very curious to know, do you think Yuehua should join Everglow? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think it would be weird? I will see you guys next time. Bye!